So is that the one that we're...
Hello and welcome to Talk to Stu with me, Stu Magoo. And I'm joined this evening by my beautiful assistant, Becky Plant.
Hello.
So hopefully you can all hear Becky well. And helping me, as always, moderating the chat is the Duke of Nuke. So look out for him.
Hello.
He's in there as well. And I haven't done a lot of promotion for this one, so it might be a bit of a quiet episode. Don't know, we'll see who pops in as we go. And we've got quite a few questions come in. So I did a news update video, I think 3 or 4 days ago, just at the end of the month for the Easter period, just going over some of the changes that are going on with the benefits payments and things like that. So I've covered all those kind of things there. Had a couple of questions on the back of that video, so rather than doing the news section like I normally do, I'm going to go into answering questions sort of pretty much straight away, but I'm going to start with some of those older ones. Before we get going though, for the people that are in the room, the first thing is a little bit of housekeeping. So as always, we like to have quite a nice and friendly chat going on in the chat. I'm supported by some of my regular subscribers, viewers, and they often will step in and help people out with answering questions and things. Obviously, Becky and Phil are also both moderating the chat. You're thinking, who's Phil? Well, Phil is the Duke of Nuke and is my brother. So yes, I always end up saying I'm not going to name him, and then I name him anyway. So we just get that out of the way. He's Phil.
It's like Stig.
Yes, the Stig, the Duke of Nuke.
To get him a helmet.
Yes. Yeah, and then we could see his face.
Or not,
as it were. Anyway. So yes, so that's what we are doing. So basically, keep it civil in the chat and keep it nice. So obviously, talking about benefits and things like that can be a bit of a contentious issue for a lot of people, and can have some political things attached to it. So sometimes we can say things that might be offensive to some people, even though we think it's kind of normal. So just be careful of that. If you do say anything that might be a little on the nose, then obviously one of the moderators will kind of give you a warning, and if it carries on, then we'll shoot you down, basically. Cancel culture, that's the thing. Anyway, so as I say, we're going to get into a few questions. Just bear with me 1 second while I put in my tooth. Because I just took my tooth out while I was eating dinner and forgot to put it back in, and want to have a nice smile for the television. Right, so let's get into a few of the questions. Before I do, actually, a few shout outs as well. Shout out to Rob McCallan. I think he's in the chat right now. He's a very supportive guy with people on my stream. The videos I post, he's often there answering questions. Also, shout out to Edward Brown if he's in the chat, and his lovely wife. Also, very supportive guy.
Ed Shaw's here.
Ed Shaw as well. Brilliant. You're in the house. Nice to see you, Ed. Hope you're well. And of course, John Huggs. If you've locked on tonight, John, hope you're doing well. And and to all the other lovely subscribers and people that join. So thank you for that, and thank you all for your support as well, and your Easter wishes, they were nice too. So I'm going to go over first of all with some questions that we've had on the stream. So Linda Brown has asked quite a good question, which is about pension guarantee credit. So she says that she has gone over the 10,000 disregarded savings and informed the DWP, and they have started adjusting her benefit entitlement accordingly, which is good. That's what we're supposed to do. And she is then asking, they've said to her, when the savings goes down, for her to get in touch. And so she's asking what counts as acceptable spending to bring down the amount. And she cites an example that her son is getting married and she wants to give him and his wife some money as a wedding present. Well, of course, that would be reasonable in most people's eyes to do that sort of thing. The thing, the key phrase is, what's a reasonable expense? So something like that might be okay as long as it was a reasonable amount and wasn't putting you in a position where you were depriving yourself of capital in order to claim benefits. So that's what needs to be kind of clear in there. So it would entirely depend on the amount that was given. I would say that the lower the amount, the better. Okay, so it would be reasonable to expect a parent to give their child a gift on their wedding day, but it should also be reasonable compared to what their living circumstances are, what their financial circumstances are at the time. So you have to keep it relative to that. So if you are in a position where you think, oh well, I'll buy them an all expenses paid honeymoon, that would be too much, sort of thing. If you were to hand over £1,000, that would probably be too much. So just think about exactly what it is that you're going to look at giving, and think about whether you would think in the eyes of the DWP that would be reasonable, rather than in the eyes of a normal human being. Okay, so that's how you need to sort of think about it. Generally speaking, the kind of expenses that the DWP will consider to be reasonable and not deprivation of assets, which is what they're looking out for, would be things like if your cooker stopped working, you needed to buy a new cooker. If you your car went in for an MOT and you had to have some work done to get it back on the road, those kind of things are reasonable expenses. If your TV stopped working and you bought yourself a new TV set to replace it, that would be fine. So things like that. Also disability expenses as well, or expenses that are incurred, as in this case, by old age or getting older. So those kind of things. It might be that maybe your carpet gets damaged and you need to replace it, you need to have radiators repaired, all that sort of thing. Those things all count. What doesn't really count is more frivolous things. So if you bought yourself a TV for every room in the house when there's only one person living in that house, then that would be considered an excessive expense. Or if you bought yourself a fancy car when you don't really need one because the car that you've got works perfectly well, stuff like that. So you have to be very careful with what you do. And if you are going to make any kind of financial gift to anybody, make sure that it's as low as it sort of reasonably could be. So maybe £100 or £200 might be okay, but more than that, probably not going to be. Okay, so that's that question. And it's a good question. People ask that quite a lot, really. Sorry, I've gone a bit nervous for some reason and started going plum, 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 plum. So, next question. So, in my latest video, if you've seen it, you'll know, I said that the benefit increases were going up by 6.7%. And the question is, why isn't it going up by 8.5% in line with inflation, the same as last year? So last year it went up 10.1%. Well, that is a good question, and there is a specific window that the DWP pick for when they look at the inflation rate to see what is most reasonable in their view to apply to all of the benefits. Now, state pension has the triple lock guarantee on it, so that has gone up by about 8.something%, 8.5. The rest of the benefits don't have that going on, so they've gone up by the window that they picked, which was in September last year, which was the same window as the year before, and at that particular point in time it was 6.7%. So the window that they pick is usually a week, and they picked it when it sort of fluctuated quite far down and then went back up again. But inflation has dropped again. The trouble with inflation is it continually goes. So really, if benefits were properly linked to inflation, then week on week, the benefits would increase or decrease in line with inflation. Week on week or month on month might even be reasonable. But the fact that it only goes up once a year, or if you've got 8.5%, let's say, every month, then it's constantly going up. But if you only increase the benefits once at 8.5% in a year, then you're always behind. So even with that small amount of an increase, it's still quite far behind. And that's the same with wages, really, as well. When people put wages up, sort of inflationary-based increases on wages, it is only at that time. It doesn't track those things constantly. So that is part of it. And of course, some things increase in price, not necessarily relative to inflation. As we always say, the price of bread is something to judge it by. So that's that question. And
John said also always keep receipts.
oh yeah, keep receipts. Yeah. Oh, going back to the previous thing. Yeah, keep all your receipts. Anything that you buy, if you're concerned about that sort of thing, keep receipts. Pay for it on a credit card if you can. If you don't have a credit card or a bank card, pay it on a bank card. So even if you haven't got the receipt, you can see that it's gone through your bank account, and you can see who it's been paid to, what the amount was for, and so on and so forth. So yeah, very good tip by John. Shouldn't have to do that really, but I suppose in some respects it makes sense. So another Mem1066 asks, every time my ESA goes into my bank it says ESA. This month it said JSA. I'll try and ring them myself next week. Just wondering if you had any idea. So
Sounds like a boy band.
ESA and JSA.
Yeah.
It's not that much fun.
Oh.
No, JSA is Job Seekers Allowance.
I know.
So
Just trying to make it light.
light and fluffy.
Light, yes.
So yeah, you do need to call them. I wouldn't even leave it that till next week. As soon as you've noticed there's been a change like that, get in touch with them. It may well be that they've sent you something in the post and it's just not got to you yet, because often a change will happen on the computer and you'll see it on your bank account, because that happens, within 24 hours, but the post takes like a week or maybe two, particularly if it's second class post, and you've also got the post office delivery schedule to contend with as well, which is somewhat worsened of late, as we've all noticed. So there's those things.
Go with your gut as well. If it doesn't seem right,
yeah,
call them out on it, because I had some problems with mine when I was receiving my benefits, and I knew that I shouldn't have been receiving certain amounts, and they kept saying yes you should, and I knew I shouldn't, and then I had a terrible experience because I paid it back and they said I hadn't paid it back, and they contacted my then employer and it was a nightmare, but I got everything I kept in writing, so I could prove it all, so it was fine in the end. But trust your gut.
Yeah, and I mean it's still stressful to go through it, but if you're seeing a change from ESA to JSA, that kind of makes me wonder if they've changed your status in terms of whether you're receiving employment support allowance or job seekers allowance, and any decision that's made like that, you need to appeal if it's incorrect. So that would be a situation if that has happened and you shouldn't be on JSA, then I would definitely be booking an appointment with the CAB or some such similar organisation as soon as possible. There are some disability organisations out there that might support with this kind of thing as well, depending on what your disability is or what area you live in. As always, I'll pop the Turn to Us benefits counter calculator and advice finder in the chat on this video at some point, probably at the end, or you can pretty much just Google Turn to Us, TURN, 2 the number 2 and then US, and you'll find those things there, and you'll be able to track down some advice and support hopefully with that. Do bear in mind that some disability charities only support with PIP and not with actual income benefits as they're known. But yeah, you as I say, just check that out. As soon as you get any change, check it out and contact somebody. And as Becky mentioned there, keep everything, copies of everything, get it all written down. Someone's saying I should do a piece on the Disabled Facilities Grant. That's a good idea. I'll do that. John Huggs suggests I do a piece on sort of death, basically, funerals, and getting yourself sorted out for those kind of things. It's a bit morbid, but we all need to think about it. We all need to get things sorted, particularly if we've got loved ones who we don't want, having to sort things out after we go. So yeah, that's a good idea as well. Why should Universal Credit take everyone's money into account? It's out of order. They don't leave you much to live on for a married couple. Can't argue with that. There's no real answer to that. It's always been the case that benefits are assessed on a household basis, whatever they are: housing benefit, council tax support, universal credit, income related job seekers allowance, income related employment support allowance. Is it right? Probably not. I would think that there's a lot of women's aid charities out there that certainly don't agree with that. Things should be in a sense assessed separately, but then also some things are shared expenses in the house, like council tax or electricity bill and things like that. So it's a bit of a weird one, but that's just the way it is, unfortunately. Any other? Oh, is there any questions coming in?
We have a few questions.
Right.
So Julia, there's a two-parter with Julia's. So Julia's said that they haven't had standard rate PIP update for daily rate and mobility rate. So do you have any idea when that might be happening? Is that normal?
They haven't had?
Not had standard rate PIP update for daily rate and mobility rate.
Okay, so if they've had their award changed and it's not come through yet, there often is a delay between when the decision is made and when it comes through. And when it does come through, you tend to get a backdated payment, which includes that, but you have to check it because that doesn't always happen. So the first thing I would do would be to get on the phone to them. Obviously you'll have quite a long wait on the phone, so do make sure you've got a couple of cups of tea lined up and things like that. And then once you get through, just ask if there have been any changes to your payments or when those payments can be expected to go through. They may not be able to answer that at that time. Quite often they just say to people that it will go through at some point. And most of it is down to the fact that they're quite understaffed as well. So eventually it should go through, but what you have to do is make sure that your pay is backdated to the date that you were awarded the upgrade sort of thing, because sometimes they just increase it from that month onwards and they shouldn't do that. It should go back to that date. If that doesn't happen, then again I would approach the CAB or some similar organisation to get support with writing a letter of complaint, basically, to get that reinstated.
So the second part of the comment was that they've also not had an update rise for them for the UC or LCWR rate either. So would the same comment apply?
Okay, so this could be a couple of other things as well. So if we're talking about the upgrading in line with the inflation rate that we were talking about earlier, that is not going through for everybody straight away in April, so you won't start seeing it. It won't be definitely in place for everybody until May. So it entirely depends on when your payment falls and those kind of things. So if that's what you're referring to, you may need to wait a bit longer to see that go through on your account. If you're also talking about the you should get a letter with all of these things to tell you what the increases are. I had my letter for PIP about 2 weeks ago, so it told me when I could expect the increase and how much that was going to be. Not a fat lot is the answer there. But yes, that letter should have come through by now. Again, if you haven't received anything, the best thing to do is phone on the helpline number, or if you're on Universal Credit, send in a request to start with using your journal to find out what's happening there.
So Julia's just quickly responded to what you've been speaking about, that they already get PIP. It's the increase from the 12th of April. Yes, increase going up to, I already get it on the 11th of each month.
Yeah,
Can't
so
speak.
if it's not going up till the 11th, then it might be that you don't get that in this payment schedule, so it goes in the next payment schedule after that. So that might be the case. And also, again, with it being the 11th, the chances are that letter is on its way to you at the moment to inform you of that, and will probably arrive with you sometime this week, or should do. So I would certainly say, if you haven't heard anything by Friday, that you should get in touch with them and find out what's happening with that. But yeah, it usually arrives about a fortnight ahead, or should arrive about a fortnight ahead of when you should expect the payment to go through.
Yeah, and Garuthius has just put, with Universal Credit, you can check your journal a few days before to see what the upcoming payment is going to be. So that was a useful comment. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, really good comment. In the payments section of your Universal Credit Journal, it will show you a few days ahead, partly so that you can be aware if there's any adjustments that are being made to your Universal Credit account. So it might be that if you are earning some money, it goes up and down, and you need to be aware of that, because sometimes you might get a nil award, and it might mean that you might be expecting Universal Credit to make payments towards rent or council tax. Particularly with council tax, you just need to make sure that either that's been paid or not, and whether or not you have to pay it. So always check your payments if you can, as they say, a few days ahead.
So our wonderful Steve Squiddy Armstrong.
Oh, Squiddy.
Yeah. Says, hi Stu and the long lost Becky. And I said, yes, I like to keep an air of mystery.
Yes.
I got both my switchover letters from SSS and DWP about my PIP, but do I have to call the DWP about my ESA, or will they send me another letter about that?
Are we talking about a transition from ESA over to Universal Credit? If that's the case, then yes, you should definitely wait for them to get in touch with you. If we're talking about the payment increases for this month, then again, that should be on its way to you, but it depends on when your ESA payment lands. So either way, you should get something informing you of that, and quite often you'll see the change in your bank account before you get the letter. I've always found that with the DWP, so keep your eye on your bank account as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a question from Kitty Bell, and I just have to say that I think that could be one of my top names.
Kitty
I
Bell.
love it. I absolutely love it. I'm looking at Pog. She approves. She's like, yep, loving that.
Bog is the cat, by the way.
Yeah, if you don't know. She decided to come and sit with us today. She actually sat on my lap for the first time, I don't know how long, when I got home from work. But anyway, Kitty's question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you're going to be able to answer this, because it's about Northern Ireland. You might be able to, I don't know. Is it okay to withdraw all my benefits in cash from my bank account, e.g. PIP? Also, any idea when income support claimants will be moved over to Universal Credit in Northern Ireland?
Ooh.
Is that a brain teaser?
In terms of withdrawing your benefits, once they enter your bank account, they're essentially yours to do with as you wish, providing that you don't fall foul of what we were mentioning earlier, which is the deprivation of assets kind of thing. So if you've got PIP that's built up because you haven't spent it, and those savings are then becoming getting you close to the cut-off, as it were, when you would have to inform if you're on income related ESA or universal credit or income support, as you mentioned. If you're on anything income related, then obviously you have to declare your income when it gets over a certain amount. So don't draw it out in cash and keep it in the mattress, because you won't have a receipt essentially to show what you've spent it on, and so that will be considered to be deprivation of assets. Okay, but if you mean, is it okay on a week-to-week basis to draw out that amount of money and use it as cash to pay for things, that's fine, but try and get receipts for everything that you buy, just to stay safe with that. But again, that's only if you're on the capital side of things, close to the edge of the allowable amount of savings that you can have. In terms of income support, moving over to universal credit, I don't actually know specifically off the top of my head when that will be done. I know that the goal is to move most people on JSA and income support and all of those things by 2025, whereas ESA is given a longer period, which is 2028 to 2029, when they will be transitioned. But I don't know specifically for Northern Ireland as to whether that's any different with the progress of things over there. I would think it's probably the same, but I don't know for sure. Same for working tax credit as well. I think it's that 24 to 25 period. So basically, look out for the letter. As soon as the letter arrives, just start the process straight away. Don't wait. Otherwise, you could end up losing out altogether, and also it will protect your transitional payment, so that you make sure that you're on a reasonably similar rate once you've moved over.
Lovely. Brian has popped through a comment and a question. So, hi, I have a 10-year PIP award which takes me to pension age. There's an end date on the letter which is around 2033. Will I get a light touch review or a normal general review? Many thanks.
You'll definitely get a light touch review. Most people do get a light touch review. It'd be interesting to know for yourself, not for me, don't tell us, but it'd be interesting to know for yourself what rate you are on with the mobility component and so on. Once you pass pension age, or pensionable age, once you pass that age, the mobility component won't change. It will always stay the same. So if 10 years is quite a long time to not have a review. So if you're on the lower rate of care, and or particularly the lower rate of mobility, and your mobility needs increase before that time, then you should request a review. Okay. And they have to significantly increase, because once you go past pensionable age, the mobility component won't go up. Okay, so if, for example, you're doing okay at the moment, and then all of a sudden one of your hips goes, and you can't have a hip replacement or something like that, and suddenly you're much worse than you are now, and you're on the lower rate, make sure that you request a review as soon as possible. The majority of people are getting light touch reviews now when it comes to doing the reviews, because it's a bit easier for them to process, a bit quicker. And then obviously with the light touch review, if there is any areas where your needs have increased, then you need to fully inform them of that. But where the areas that haven't increased are the same, you need to just say this area is still the same as previously. But remember, don't leave any sections blank, otherwise they'll think it's fine and they'll interpret it that way. You must put that your needs are still the same as previously, if they are still the same. Obviously, if your needs have improved in any way, or your the adjustments that you're having to make, if they've improved, then you should inform them of that also. Does that make sense? I hope so.
So the lovely Ed Shaw has said, Stu, aren't benefits always paid in arrears, so that would
Yes.
delay any increase?
Which increase?
Any increase?
Yeah, benefits are always paid in arrears. That's
Okay.
why people don't see things going through in the way that they should in April.
Okay.
And particularly with universal credit, it's a bigger problem because it's like a 5-week thing to start with. So that puts everybody a week off anyway. Plus you've got that assessment period. So it's universal credit's the most difficult one. But yeah, it's always paid for. It's like your wages at work. It's always paid for the previous period. So as I say, when you're going to see the increase, then you should get the letter come through.
Duke has just updated in the chat that migration notices will start being sent out from the 16th of October 2024 in Northern Ireland. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There you go.
That's brilliant. Okay, so not sure if you're going to be able to help with this one. We shall see. Hi, it's from N. Cosworth. Hi Stu, I'm on full PIP. My wife is on a limited leave to remain visa and is not entitled to benefits. Do you know if I can still claim for her as my carer?
You can't.
Okay. And if we could gain any any additional money, thank you.
Yeah, no, that's it. That unfortunately, that's a quite a simple one, because until a person has leave to the right to remain, they can't
have access
to benefits, and it's very frustrating because people can be. I've known a lot of people kept in limbo for years and years whilst caring for somebody in the UK. So yeah, that is a difficult one. That person won't have recourse to public benefits until that is sorted out. And I would argue that a Home Office is probably worse at processing stuff in a reasonable time frame than the DWP, so that could go on for a while. Sorry, no better news there.
Okay, thank you. Gillian Thompson has asked, hi Stu, has the threshold for earnings for universal credit increased to match the new minimum wage, please? I'd like to know how much I have to earn now so that I don't receive work-focused phone calls from the DWP.
That's a difficult one. Sorry, I've got a cat on me. So there was a change, and I don't know offhand what the change was. I did a thing on this ages ago, and I cannot recall it right now. But yeah. If anybody else in the chat happens to know this one, please do drop it in. There was a change, and I don't know that it's gone up in line with the recent increase to minimum wages yet, but yeah, I'll have to check on that one. Sorry, I don't know off the top of my head. That's remiss of me, I should know that.
I have another question. Hi there, Stu. I'm just after a bit of info. I've had a PIP assessment about 4 weeks ago, and I'm still waiting on my letter to see how much longer I've been awarded it again, but I'm very worried. What do you think I should do?
Sorry, can you repeat the entire thing again?
Yeah, I've gone brain foggy. Yeah, I've got Pog on my lap. Hi there, Stu. I'm just after a bit of info.
Yeah.
I've had a PIP assessment about 4 weeks ago, and I'm still waiting on my letter to see how much longer I have been awarded it again for, but I'm getting really worried. What do you think I should do? Phone them?
Phone them. Don't get worried. So the recent reports that I've seen is that it's taken about 4 months for a PIP claim a brand new PIP claim to go through from start to finish. And after you've had the assessment, whether that's done face to face, on a video call or over the phone, it's usually at least a month before you get a decision. For a lot of people, you're looking at about 6 weeks total after that point. So it was the case that the brand new PIP assessment should go through within 3 months, but we're seeing in the news that that's increased to 4 months at the moment. So don't panic about that. In terms of that doesn't mean you haven't been awarded it. I mean, there may be other panics that you're having or other worries that you're having in terms of, managing the day-to-day finances, but it doesn't mean you haven't been awarded it just yet. You can give them a call. When you phone them, if a decision has been made, then sometimes they will tell you that over the phone, but generally if it's in process, if you call and they haven't issued that decision, then they're just going to say it's in process and you'll be told as soon as they know. So, and again, quite often that might be that you see a payment go into your bank account ahead of when you get the letter, so that's an element with it. So do bear that in mind. If it's a review that you're having, then the amount that you're currently receiving will carry on being paid up until the decision is made, and the review decisions are taken.
It's just the review, yeah.
If it's a review, then it's going to be between 12 and 18 months before you get a decision, which is not good for anybody, particularly if they're trying to get their benefit upgraded because their conditions have worsened. But that amount will continue, and you will not be expected to pay it back if a decision is made.
John Lane's wife is still waiting after 16 months for her review.
That sounds about right.
Crikey.
And that's all across the UK. Everybody's experiencing that. The reviews, I don't think they really thought about it when they thought of doing this entire review system and forcing these reviews. I don't really think that with the way the population increases and the number of people that will then, as the population increases, then the general proportion of people that are needing these benefits, the numbers increase. That's what happens. And then if you're going to say to everybody that they have to have a review every 3 years, well, if you're processing 1 million people 1 year, then in 3 years' time you've got to process that 3 million people again, which is why they've started giving lots more people these 5 and 10 year awards now to kind of so you've immediately created a bottleneck. It was very poor planning on that side of things, so it's 18 months at least, not at least, 12 to 18 months.
So Patville Thomas has said, do you still get ESA when you get your pension?
No.
Okay.
So
that's a quick one.
No. No, you don't. So you can only get one income benefit at a time, or you can, in some cases, get 2 income benefits, but they won't go over a certain amount that you receive. But that's rare anyway. Generally speaking, if you've got ESA, universal credit, state pension, anything like that, so as soon as one finishes, the other will take over. So when you are approaching state pension age, you should get a forecast of what your state pension will be. I think it's usually around about 4 months ahead of when it changes, and at that point you need to make sure that you apply and say that you want to receive your pension. If you do have the option of setting your state pension back if you want to, but generally it's not advisable to do that, because overall you end up getting less money, because it depends on how long you live, basically, as to how much you get. So when you're approaching that time, I would certainly give Age UK a ring on their helpline and see if they are able to do an assessment over the phone to tell you how much you can expect to receive, if you need to get pension credit or something like that on top, or if your state pension is at the right amount. If you're unsure, you can go online as well. If you're unsure of your stamps, what stamps you've paid, whether you've got you've paid enough to receive the full pension or not, you can go online and use the checker there to check your national insurance contributions. So that's a good thing to do. And if you're unsure about doing that, again, if you've got a local Age UK office branch, not everywhere does, there are few and far between now, but quite often they can even help you with doing that. Not always, but sometimes they can. I know years ago when I used to work at AG, I'd often check people's contributions to see what they were in line to get, and if you know that it's going to be lower, then you can get ready to look at claiming pension credit and housing benefit and council tax support and those kind of things as well.
Joanne, you've put that you hope this doesn't sound silly, or I know this might sound silly, and no questions are ever silly.
No.
However, what I think you have done is asked a question while Stu was talking about a topic which linked to a topic, but now we've moved on because quite often we're answering questions, well, always, to be honest, we're answering questions at a slightly later stage than when they've been submitted. Could you let me know in the chat what you're referring to? So you've put, I don't know whether I'm supposed to declare my rent increase only or the rent and the service charges. Declare for what? Or Stu, can you make sense of that?
Well, I would, in both, whether it's, I think universal credit covers service charges to a certain extent. Obviously it's universal credit, so it doesn't cover the full amount with any of these things. But yeah, if your rent increases and your service charges are increasing, then you need to let them know that at the nearest available opportunity. And if they are going to increase that, then they will. So they will need to see evidence of that. So you will need to see official documentation that explains what those increases are. So certainly, as soon as you know, let them know. Okay, report any change in circumstance. That is a change in circumstance. So
it's about universal credit.
Yeah, and
Thanks,
same
Joanne.
with housing benefit and council tax support as well. I mean, they don't generally cover those things in that way because most people get but it's always worth looking at it because they might.
Okay, thank you, Stu, and thanks, Joanne. David Haslett. Stu, I was asked to complain. I'm so sorry, my brain is going completely dead.
Mine is,
I don't know what's wrong with me.
We
had dinner.
Weird.
We had dinner.
It's so weird how
Yes.
tiring doing this is. I can sit there in an office and talk to people and answer these questions and spend more time on it, and then as soon as we're here doing it, and I'm like, I can't remember.
I don't
this,
have
and I can't.
removable teeth, but it sounded like I did at that point, so I'm going to start again.
Yes.
I'm so sorry, David. David Haslett. Stu, I was asked to complete a PIP review form to be returned in December. I said no change for everything apart from an operation. They acknowledged receipt of it, but you said it's 18 months.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So your rate will still continue, as I say, at the amount that you've been being paid up till now, and that will continue until a decision is made. But it could, if you sent the form back, it might be that they get in touch with you to do a telephone review or something like that with you. But quite often, if people are sending them through and they're saying no changes, and there's medical evidence to show that there have been no changes either way, if they contact your GP and stuff, then they'll probably continue it unless there's a really significant change to your daily living conditions on the basis of that surgery and stuff. It'll probably carry on just the same anyway once you've received it. So don't panic too much about that, I would say, for now. And if they make a decision and for some reason they take it away, then, which is unlikely I think, but could happen, does happen, you won't be required to pay it back, and obviously mandatory reconsideration and appeal, because if you haven't got better, then yes, go on. Sorry, the cat wanted to go out. So yes, thank you, David.
We have got a couple more questions, but I just wanted to let you know that we've had a super thanks from N.
Ooh.
Cosworth, which was really
From who?
delightful. N. Cosworth.
Thank you,
He had
N.
the
Cosworth.
query about his wife's right to remain, leave to remain.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
thank you. I'm always very grateful for receiving the super thanks donations. We will be setting up Buy Me a Coffee in the future. Haven't got round to it yet, but I will do, and that way a little bit more money comes through to me. But it's always grateful, but please don't anybody feel like they have to donate to us, because it's appreciated if you do, but obviously only ever give what you can afford. So, but thank you.
We appreciate you all.
Yes.
Because sometimes there are some really horrible comments on the videos, and Stu
usually
pretends
about
he
how boring
doesn't.
I am.
Yeah, he pretends he's not upset by them, but he is, and it makes me want to tell people off like a horrible teacher. I'm like, just, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Get really angry about it.
Yeah.
So. We appreciate all you lovely people, and everyone's been really helping each other a lot in the chat as well. You're all absolute stars. And Brian said, Stu and Becky, not every superhero not every superhero wears a cape. And
I do
thanks for all of your info and genuine care towards all of us. But that goes out to all of you. You're all brilliant. We just are making a bit of a hash of it, to be honest, tonight.
Well, yeah, but that's why I really love the fact that people like Ed Shaw and John and Rob McCallan and doing Phil as well, who's in the background pulling up information and posting it quickly for us. Sorry, Duke. Doing that because none of us can know everything, and there are a couple of other people on YouTube who are starting to do this sort of thing as well now. Haven't made contact with them yet, but everybody is trying to help each other out, and that's as support as well. So yeah, thank you for all the support.
And there's only like a certain amount of sparkle you can add to universal credit.
Yeah, I don't know what people are like, oh, you're droning on, you're really boring. I'm like, well, I didn't write it. I mean, look at this book, right? This is a book. How do you make this interesting? What am I going to do?
Oh,
Have a dance?
well, it's all right. Don't
It's
worry
all
about
fine.
it. It
Yes.
is.
But
Don't you
you
worry
guys
about
are
it.
lovely.
You are. There are a couple more questions. So, Jane says, hi Stu, question about attendance allowance.
Yay.
Do you have any information regarding how long new claims are taking to be processed to final decision? Thanks, Jane.
Okay, so attendance allowance, generally speaking, that department always worked quite differently to the rest of the benefits, because that was always done up in Stockport, I think, and I think that has grown in size. But then there was a thing where the government decided that local authorities were going to be responsible for attendance allowance. But anyway, generally speaking, attendance allowance is supposed to take 18 weeks from initial application to award date. There have been, I haven't done many AA forms lately, but partly from the comments I've had on the AA videos, attendance allowance videos that I've done, and also from feedback from people that I've spoken to recently face to face, it has taken a little bit longer. So if you get to the 18-week stage and you've heard nothing, you should get in touch with them and see if they've arrived at a decision. Generally speaking, attendance allowance tends to go through pretty regularly, and there's never been any really big changes to the way it's assessed, or how the department or any of those things. So if there is a bit of a recruitment issue in that area, I think it's one of the few areas of the DWP where there would be less of a recruitment issue, but that's only a guess. So yeah, generally speaking, 18 weeks.
Thank you. Quick questions just popped up. When do you have to do a PIP renewal? I heard you have to do it 6 months before current PIP claim runs out.
Mm-hmm.
Do they send the PIP renewal form out, or do I need to request it from the DWP?
I mean, you can request a PIP review at any time if your conditions have changed or whatever. But yes, generally speaking, the form will be sent out to you usually around 6 months ahead. It doesn't always work out exactly 6 months ahead, but generally it's about 6 months ahead to give you time to fill it in and get it back. But don't feel like you're under pressure, because they are having such issues with turning them around. You can ask for extensions and on the return date for your form, and they will pretty much agree to anything as long as you've got a reasonable reason. Reasonable reason? Is there such a thing? As long as you've got a good reason, so if you're waiting if you get that form and you need support with doing it, and you get in touch with the CAB and they say we've got a 2 to 3 month waiting list, then that's a good reason as far as the DWP are concerned, and they'll be quite happy to wait for that to happen. So yeah, don't panic. As I say, once the review form comes out, then you'll have plenty of time to get it done. You'll be able to ask for an extension, and until a decision is made, your payments will continue. The only thing that would be a problem is if you didn't do anything at all. So when it arrives, don't panic, just get on and see what you can get sorted.
Lovely. That I believe, unless I am mistaken, if I am mistaken, please type now. But I believe that those are all of our questions from our wonderful viewers, and a lovely chat.
Yeah.
No one has been awful, of course.
Everyone's lovely.
Exactly.
We're all lovely people.
We are.
Living in a lovely world.
Apart from Pog.
Apart from Pog, the cat, which will viciously bite you for no reason at any time. That's brilliant. So thank you for all your questions. If you've got any more quick questions, drop them in now. We've got about 8 minutes left. So I'll just go with some flannel for now. So some things that we're looking at doing for developing the channel. So you will have seen recently, hopefully, if you haven't subscribed before, but most people here tonight will be subscribers. If you haven't seen me post it recently, I've put up a video asking for people's experiences on housing and social housing and being selected for a house, and how people with disabilities are being treated with their housing. If you've seen that video, go and pop some comments on there, because that is something that I want to dig into with people in the future and do some video updates on that. Also, I've got a bit more time on my hands to dedicate to doing videos and things now, so if you've got suggestions of topics that you want me to cover, then please do let me know in the comments what you'd like to see in the future. It doesn't have to be comments on this, it can be comments on any of my videos. I do, although I might not respond to all of them, I do go through them all. Okay, I'm getting a finger.
One final question.
Final question.
Is PIP review the same as PIP renewal?
Yes. Review or renewal, they're basically, I think we're using the same terms. The two different terms to mean the same thing. Yeah.
Aww.
So that's great. Like I say, keep those things, ideas coming. Hopefully we'll be seeing other developments as well. We may even in the near future start seeing some improvements in the equipment that I'm using as well, so you might get to see me in 4K Super HD rather than 720p.
So another thing before we go, Stu also did a meditation video, which I really, really liked, but it lost him 4 viewers.
Yes. So,
which I found hilarious.
I don't know what about meditation was so offensive to those people.
People were really offended by it.
Yes,
they were like, unfollow.
Yes, I am not following your channel anymore. How dare you make me try to relax.
I loved it. It's so funny.
So if you fancy chilling out, have a look at my meditation video.
I liked it.
Yeah.
But you don't have to.
It's not your thing.
It's not your thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But free country. If you want to unfollow me, that's fine. You're welcome to. Just a bit weird.
No, it was strange.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think that about wraps us up for this evening.
I think it does.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So it just remains for me to thank the lovely Becky and the amazing Phil, aka Duke of New.
Got a very quick question from Doctor Who.
Ooh.
Will I still get LCWR when I actually retire in 6 months, or will it stop?
It will stop.
Oh.
So yes, so just a quick repeat of what we were saying earlier. Basically, when you've got one income benefit and another one starts, then that one will end, and the new one will take over from it. So if you missed that earlier question, what I'm going to do very soon is some updates on the whole getting a pension and what all that is. So I'm going to put that information out soon, but in an hour or so this video will be of the live show will be here on YouTube, so you could watch over this again where I answer that question in a bit more detail. But yes, it will switch over, so you'll go from LCWRA over onto state pension. So there we go. So thank you to everybody. No more questions tonight. But if you do want to pop questions in, then I will try and answer them in the future. And
there's another question that I've missed.
Ooh.
Sorry. Okay, Crazy Hawk, I'm just scrolling up. I want to sell my car and have debts to pay. I may get 10,000, I'm really rubbish with the numbers, sorry. 10,000 for the car and have 9,000 debt. I'm disabled and on full benefits. Will this affect things?
Well, paying off debts, it depends who the debt is with. But yeah, you need to, if you're selling the car to pay off debts, then that isn't really deprivation of assets. That's a reasonable expense, because you're bringing yourself back to zero, hopefully. So I would double check with that, and again it depends on what the debts are and how they were accrued. But if it's things like rent and council tax, stuff like that, then yeah, definitely pay that, and that shouldn't be too much of an issue. If it's because you bought a Ferrari and you're paying that off, obviously you're not, because that's the car, but it's my usual example. If it's to pay off things that were sort of an extravagance, then that might be an issue, but I would contact them. A good organisation to speak to about anything debt related is Step Change. They know a lot to do.
Step Change.
Yeah, Step Change. So a lot of people may have come across that before, but they're certainly, if you Google Step Change, they're good to advise you on things like that, and whether paying those things off will interfere with your benefits. It shouldn't do. But like I say, it might depend on what the debt is and what impact it's having on you, that sort of thing. But again, with all of these things, record everything that you do, keep receipts and so on and so forth. Any more for any more?
Any more for any more? I don't think so.
Cool.
Although that was credit card and bank loan.
Credit card and bank loan. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you need to pay those off, so that should be seen as.
But seek the advice of the professional financy person.
Yeah. I would seek the guidance from the Step Change folk if you haven't already. But generally speaking, I think paying off debts is fine with the DWP when they, when they need to be paid off. So yeah, but also check with the DWP, give them a ring. You might be on the phone for half an hour, but I don't know. Yeah, it's worth it. So yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay, so thank you to everybody. Thank you for the questions. Sorry I've been a bit vague this evening with things. I am going to try and get myself some more training and go back over a lot of things to refresh my knowledge, so hopefully things will improve in the next few weeks. Don't ever take my word as law. There's a lot of information out there, and I'm quite happy to be corrected. once again, thank you to everybody who's joined me in the chat this evening, and all my supporters, and everyone who's supporting everyone else in the chat. And big thanks to Becky, and a massive thanks to Phil as well for being amazing humans. And yeah, we'll see you all again very, very soon.
Adios.
Adios.